Rico.
Oh, come on, Rico.
How do I get these off?
Welcome back everyone, Meanpooh here, and we're going to take a look at the game Just Cause 4. This game was released back in December of 2018, and I believe a lot of people have slept on it because I've never even heard one person talk about it. It's not even ever popped up on my YouTube recommended videos, so you know there's something not right about it. Regardless of what we may think, Just Cause 4 is published by Square Enix and was developed by Avalanche Studios. The game takes place in South America in a fictional country called Sali. You'll be taking on the Black Hand, which has been a mercenary group in a few of the Just Cause games. You'll be taking them on in areas such as jungles, desert, and snow-filled lands. So at your disposal, you'll have the signature grappling hook, which can help speed you to your objective or launch that enemy. You can also use it in conjunction with the parachute to get more speed and distance. Using the wingsuit can help you move faster by gliding. It takes some time to get used to. I've crashed so many times into the ground, but you know, when you get the hang of it, it's not too bad. It's actually fun because you can just go up and down and glide around and look around, look at your scenery, stuff like that. Come on, I know you've done it. If you've played the game, I know you've looked at the scenery while you had the wingsuit on. You also get a lot of weapons to use like shotguns and automatic rifles and grenade launchers. You can take vehicles from pedestrians, such as cars and motorcycles, and you can even drive tanks or whatever you can get your little hands on. While driving in the car or such vehicle, you can switch through a few views such as first person, third person, and a few others. Like in other Just Cause games, you can blow a lot of stuff up. Explosions are big, especially when it's a gas canister, and it looks pretty. I love shooting them and watch them fly across the screen to hit enemies if they are in the way. Love it. Or when they blast off like a rocket. I remember the first time I shot the canister, and I believe I have it captured, and I saw it shoot straight up in the air, and I was like, whoa, that's cool. But anyway, there are a lot of escort and hack terminal missions, in which I really didn't like. The first few times were okay, but as time goes on, you keep doing it and doing it and doing it, and it comes down like this. You'll go to an objective. There might be a panel. You access the panel, and you'll either have to guard someone that's hacking into it, or when you accessed it, someone on the other end is remotely trying to do something. So you have to wait there for an unspecified amount of time. Sometimes there's a timer at the top in the form of a bar, and when that bar fills up, the time is over, and if you're still alive, then the objective is complete. Sometimes that just gets old, but blowing stuff up, I mean, I love it. Personally, I just like shooting and blowing things up, you know. Same as in Grand Theft Auto. The story is cool, but you know, driving around in Grand Theft Auto and listening to music and causing havoc is fun enough for me. The game got trashed on Steam. It's sitting at a mostly negative rating. That's insane. You have reviewers saying things like, it's an uninspired sequel, has bad graphics, it's a step down from Just Cause 3, the weather is not dynamic enough, it's boring, and this last one I like, it says, it's alright. It's basically a mix between Just Cause 2 and 3 with the mechanics plus more, and graphics of Just Cause 3 and the variation and terrain in Just Cause 2. Yeah, so even on Metacritic, it's not looking too good. But regardless of what reviews say, sometimes you just have to try the game yourself and form your own opinion. Thank goodness for Steam's return policy, right? Anyway, moving on. This is another game in which the settings had to be adjusted manually. I have my machine undervolted with throttle stop this time. I was able to run this game with an undervolt setting of -.124. Now, I was able to get -.125 with the Intel Extreme tuning utility. When I was playing a game with that setting, it would crash. Now, this is the highest I've ever been able to achieve without an in-game crash using throttle stop. I haven't made a tutorial for it yet. I might just make a video showing the settings and how to get those settings if people want me to do that. Moving on to settings, I kept the resolution to 1920 by 1080. I used maxed out, high, medium, low, and my recommended setting, which works really good at 1600 by 900 using medium settings. So let's look at these numbers here. So looking at the numbers, we have the GPU averaging 64.5, then it goes to 68, then it goes to 66.5, and then 67. CPU does the same thing, same pattern, 64 low, 67 high, 65 low, then it goes back up to 67.5. And then of course the average FPS is increasing at a steady pace. Now looking at my recommended, look at that. Average 65 on the CPU and GPU with an average of 53 FPS. I tell you, something is right about throttle stop. How are my temperatures about the same? Well, what I'm thinking is that since that pipe that cools the CPU and the GPU, they run together, maybe, you know, one of the temperatures is like cooling the other, like maybe one of the temperatures is higher, and as it passes, I actually don't know, but it has something to do with that copper tubing and where they're both connected. Regardless of that, because I'm not an expert, especially dealing with thermal temperatures and how it works with CPUs and GPUs, I just get the numbers, I read it off, and I tell you, and I know how I get them. But I'm happy with throttle stop, and I think throttle stop has something to do with it. But let's just be real here. We all know what undervolting does. It just lowers the amount of power to the processor, and it should not decrease any of the performance. I guess if you undervolt it too much, it can, but we do it to where it just lowers the temperature, keeping the same performance preferably, and getting better battery life and lower temps. That's all we're trying to do. I honestly think that throttle stop is doing something that the Intel Extreme tuning utility is not doing, or the Intel software is just making it very simple. You just adjust this one slider and then you're done. Adjust it, test it. If it crashes, start over. But with throttle stop, you have other toggles that you can change, like the cache and the core. You can do that in Intel Extreme Utility, but it seems like it's tied together. So if you adjust one, the other one will adjust too. But in throttle stop, you can do that separately. You can also change the multipliers in throttle stop. So you have much more control in throttle stop. I really didn't change too much. When I make this video, I'll definitely show you what I've changed to get this temperature. I've even played Jump Force, and looking at the Jump Force video that I made before and what I've tested it on using this throttle stop, I've gotten just a tad bit higher in temperature, maybe 3 or 4 degrees, 5 at the max, but I've also got an increase of FPS as well. I mean, I much rather have the lower temps, but it made playing maxed out on Jump Force be able to run in the 50s to 60s. And that makes a big difference when you look at the video that I made using the Intel Extreme Tuning Utility. Alright. In closing, if the video helped you, feel free to like and subscribe. There is always a list of my hardware in the description box, and if you would like to support the channel, buy from the links I have listed. And I'll see you next time. Meanpooh out.
Hostile hasn't been engaged. Eyes open for further contact. Unauthorized access from the main transmitter. Sever that uplink at any cost. Deploy every available drone unit. Bring down that tower.
Keep that transmitter alive, Rico.
Stand down for now. Command here. Find that hostile. Deploying more units.
Rico, I have a way to take out the missile launchers that are protecting the base.
Bien. What is it?
So we need to raise the missiles into the launch position and fire them. Once I fry the system.
Enemy air unit detected. Weapons are up.
Command, we have an intruder on site.
Acknowledge. Intruder on site. All units engaged.
Helicopter inbound. Heading AO.
Surface to air systems online.
Authorization codes are mine. Firing missiles now.
Sargento, the missiles at Ojo de la Jungla are no longer a problem.
Copy that. Nice hustle. Oche, thanks for the rides, Rico. If not...